John sat motionless as the weight of the betrayal settled over him like a shroud. The polished mahogany conference table reflected the cold, sterile lights above, but it was the look in Sophia's eyes that burned deepest, a mix of triumph and barely concealed disdain. She had orchestrated the hostile takeover with surgical precision, turning the family board against him, rallying their father's loyalists and convincing them that John was unfit to lead. The room was thick with tension, the kind that could choke the life from anyone caught in its grip. Yet John's face betrayed nothing. He wore a mask of calm indifference, his mind working furiously beneath the surface. Every detail replayed in his mind, the sharp crackle of the vote of no confidence, the orchestrated nods from the yes-men around the table, the cruel smile that played on Sophia's lips as she claimed his title. To the outside world, she was the visionary who had saved the company. To John, she was a thief, a usurper who had weaponized family loyalty against him. Yet, despite the sting of rejection, despite the public spectacle of his disgrace, John knew this was far from the end. The world might celebrate Sophia's victory now, but he was quietly building a fortress in the shadows. His silence was not submission but the calm before a storm, a rebirth that would shake the foundations she so arrogantly claimed. He recalled the day, 3 years prior, when the first cracks had appeared. The subtle sidelining, the whispered doubts, the carefully plotted betrayals. At the time, it had felt like a death sentence, a slow strangling of everything he had worked for. But death, he realized, was not an end but a catalyst. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, John's resolve was forged anew, sharpened by pain and tempered by experience. His mind was no longer clouded by the emotions that had once consumed him. Instead, every betrayal was a calculated move on a chessboard he now mastered. Sophia, for all her ambition, had underestimated him. She saw only the surface, the loss, the humiliation, the forced retreat, but beneath that veneer, John was awakening. The humiliation inflicted upon him was merely fuel, a resource to be mined for the fire that would consume his enemies. His rebirth was not just personal, it was a strategic renaissance. He would reclaim his empire, dismantle the false kingdom she built, and in doing so, redefine what power truly meant. The room's oppressive silence was broken only by the faint rustling of papers and the shallow breaths of those caught in the moment. John's gaze swept across their faces, some shocked, some smug, others fearful. None saw the storm brewing behind his eyes. He reached into his briefcase and retrieved a simple leather-bound notebook, a repository of plans and secrets collected over months of exile. It was here, in the shadows away from prying eyes, that he had nurtured his comeback. The first step had been acceptance, not of defeat, but of the necessity to disappear, to recalibrate. John knew that fighting on Sophia's terms would be folly. Her victory was loud, public, and theatrical. His had to be quiet, insidious, and absolute. He had buried his anger and replaced it with patience. In silence, he plotted a resurgence so profound that it would unravel the very fabric of Sophia's success. Memories flickered unbidden, the late nights working alone in a dimly lit lab, the encrypted calls with trusted allies, the painstaking acquisition of dormant assets and intellectual property once thought lost. Each secret move was a stitch in a tapestry of vengeance and reclamation. John was no longer the man who trembled with tears of disbelief, he was a force reborn, a strategist whose calm was the deadliest weapon of all. The scent of Sophia's perfume still lingered faintly in the air, a bittersweet reminder of the sister he once trusted and the adversary she had become. But trust was a luxury John could no longer afford. Every gesture, every word exchanged in their last meeting was a lesson in deception. Yet, beneath the cold calculations, a small ember of sorrow smoldered, what might have been lost forever between them. Outside the towering glass building that housed their family legacy, the city thrummed with indifferent life. To the world, Sophia was the triumphant CEO, the rising star destined for greatness. But John's eyes saw beyond the facade, a kingdom built on stolen dreams and fragile alliances, ripe for collapse. His silence was not resignation, it was the calm before the inevitable reckoning. As the meeting adjourned and the board members dispersed, John remained seated for a moment longer, absorbing the gravity of the moment. Then, with deliberate calm, he closed his notebook and stood. Each step he took away from that room was measured, a heartbeat marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. This was no surrender, it was a promise whispered to the shadows. I am not finished, he thought, voice silent but resolute. This is only the beginning. Outside, a sleek black sedan waited with tinted windows, its door opening to receive him into the sanctuary of anonymity. As the door closed with a soft thud, the world of public failure was sealed behind him. Ahead lay a path forged in quiet determination and relentless ambition. John's silence was not empty, it was a vow. A vow to rise, to reclaim, and to make his sister fall. His rebirth had begun. And when it ended, Sophia would be the one left begging. John's story was never one of simple victories. From the very beginning, he had been a visionary, a tech prodigy whose mind danced with ideas far beyond the ordinary. His fascination with cutting-edge technology had driven him to build a startup that promised to change the world, blending artificial intelligence with quantum computing in ways no one else dared imagine. But beneath his genius was a soul tempered by hardship, reborn from ashes of past betrayals and failures. His journey was more than a business success, it was a testament to resilience, ingenuity, and the unyielding will to reclaim what was stolen. The John who sat in his minimalist office, surrounded by sleek devices humming quietly with encrypted data, was a man transformed. Years ago, his life had been shattered when Sophia, his sister, had ruthlessly taken control of their family startup. What others saw as a mere sibling rivalry was, for John, a profound betrayal, the severing of trust, the collapse of dreams, and the loss of everything he had fought to build. Yet, from that ruin, John had risen. He carried within him hidden knowledge, not just of technology, but of strategy and patience. He understood that power was a game played over time, and he had mastered the art of the slow, calculated strike. Sophia was everything John was not, bold, unrelenting, and consumed by envy. Her ambition was a flame that burned too fiercely, blinding her to the consequences of her actions. Where John sought to innovate and create, Sophia sought control and dominance. She saw their family legacy as a prize to be won rather than a heritage to be nurtured. Her path to the CEO's chair was paved with manipulation and ruthless cunning, her smile a mask that hid the depths of her greed. To her, John was an obstacle, a brother who dared to stand in the way of her ascent. And so she struck, leveraging family ties and legal machinations to orchestrate his downfall. But John was not alone. Standing with him was Deborah, a loyal tech genius whose brilliance rivaled his own. Where John was the visionary architect, Deborah was the master engineer, turning ideas into reality with precision and creativity. Their partnership was forged in trust and shared purpose, a rare bond in a world rife with betrayal. Deborah's calm demeanor balanced John's intensity, and her unwavering support became a cornerstone of his comeback. Together, they had built the foundations of a new empire, one grounded in innovation and integrity. Alongside Deborah was Ryan, a trusted legal ally whose keen mind and strategic insight were instrumental in navigating the treacherous waters of corporate warfare. Ryan's expertise extended beyond courtroom battles. He was a master of subtle influence, quietly dismantling Sophia's power through contracts, patent claims, and financial maneuvers. His loyalty to John was born not of family ties but of shared values and respect for John's vision. In the shadows where public victories were won or lost, Ryan was the quiet architect of justice. The battle John faced extended beyond the walls of boardrooms and shareholder meetings. It was a war for legacy, a contest of ideals, ambitions, and redemption. Family ties complicated every move, intertwining personal wounds with corporate strategy. Yet, John understood that true power was not given, it was seized through perseverance and calculated action. His rebirth was more than personal, it was a mission to restore not only his company but the principles it was founded upon. John's mind often wandered to the early days of the startup, late nights filled with code, the thrill of breakthroughs, and the hope of changing the world. Those memories fueled his determination, reminding him of the stakes. Sophia's betrayal had left scars, but it had also ignited a fire within him that no setback could extinguish. Each secret meeting with Deborah and Ryan strengthened their resolve, their plans growing more intricate and unstoppable. Deborah's contributions went beyond technical mastery. She was the keeper of John's vision, the guardian who ensured that every step forward honored their shared dream. Her quiet confidence and unwavering loyalty were a balm to John's restless spirit. Together, they refined quantum architectures and crafted algorithms that defied conventional limits. Their work was a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of betrayal. Ryan's presence was felt in every strategic move. His ability to anticipate Sophia's tactics and counter them before they unfolded was a testament to his deep understanding of corporate power dynamics. Ryan's counsel was measured, his actions precise, a constant reassurance that John was never truly alone in this fight. Through legal channels and covert negotiations, Ryan wove a web that would eventually ensnare Sophia, turning her own ambition against her. John's rebirth was marked not by loud proclamations but by deliberate, quiet progress. Each step forward was a calculated move on a chessboard where every piece mattered. He knew the value of patience, the importance of timing, and the power of silence. His was a revenge not of fury, but of precision, a silent storm gathering strength beneath a calm surface. As he looked out over the city skyline from his office window, John felt the weight of his mission. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but he was ready. His allies stood firm, their loyalty unshaken. The battle for power and redemption had begun, and John was determined to emerge not just victorious, but transformed. In this war, family was both battlefield and prize. But John was no longer the naive dreamer who had once trusted too easily. Reborn with knowledge and steely resolve, he was ready to reclaim his rightful place and rewrite the future on his own terms. ChatGPT said. Sophia moved with calculated precision, every step in her hostile takeover choreographed to perfection. Leveraging the weight of family influence, she rallied the board members with whispers of doubt about John's leadership and the promise of a bold new vision, one she claimed as her own. The startup, once a beacon of innovation under John's guidance, became a stage for her ruthless ambition. She wielded stolen intellectual property like a weapon, rebranding his breakthroughs with her name emblazoned on press releases and investor presentations. The media celebrated her as a visionary savior, oblivious to the shadow of deception that underpinned her rise. John watched from the sidelines as the empire he built crumbled before his eyes. Public humiliation was a bitter pill, headlines painted him as a failed leader, while Sophia basked in the glow of newfound power. His retreat into obscurity was not defeat but strategy. Out of the limelight, he gathered his strength, using the setback to ignite a fierce determination. The betrayal cut deep, but it sharpened his focus. John understood that to reclaim his legacy, he had to move unseen, working quietly to undermine the very foundation Sophia relied on. Behind closed doors, John and Deborah delved into the startup's fractured core, uncovering vulnerabilities hidden beneath layers of glossy corporate rhetoric. The stolen technology Sophia flaunted was flawed, superficial and unstable, a mere shadow of John's true innovations. Ryan's legal expertise became crucial as they mapped out the tangled web of patent infringements and contractual loopholes. Every misstep Sophia made, every hasty announcement, was logged and exploited, slowly turning the tide in John's favor. The once thriving startup had become a battlefield, but Sophia remained blind to the cracks spreading beneath her feet. Her overconfidence blinded her to the fact that power built on lies was inherently unstable. Investors began to sense discord, market analysts whispered skepticism. The company's stock showed subtle signs of volatility, but Sophia's public facade remained unshaken, her speeches rehearsed and her smile unwavering. She celebrated victories that were mere illusions, unaware that her empire was on the brink of collapse. John's exile became a crucible of transformation. In the quiet solitude of his makeshift headquarters, he refined his technology, pushing boundaries beyond what Sophia's shallow achievements could match. Each breakthrough was a step toward redemption, each secret meeting a thread in the tapestry of his comeback. The world saw only Sophia's ascent, but John's silent revolution was gathering momentum, ready to erupt when the time was right. The betrayal fueled not just anger but clarity. John recognized that this was more than a corporate power struggle, it was a test of endurance and vision. He channeled his pain into innovation, crafting a plan that was as much about justice as it was about reclaiming his place. Sophia's hostile takeover had ignited a war she was ill-prepared to fight. As the public cheers for Sophia grew louder, so too did the quiet storm brewing in John's corner. His retreat was a strategic withdrawal, a moment to gather forces and strike with precision. The battlefield was set, and when the inevitable reckoning came, it would be swift and devastating. Sophia's triumph was only temporary. The foundation she had so arrogantly claimed was already fracturing beneath her. The sting of betrayal was a wound that cut far deeper than any physical pain John had ever endured. Each headline that splashed across the media branding him a failure was like a fresh laceration, reopening old scars he had barely begun to heal. His public image lay in ruins, shattered by the ruthless campaign Sophia had waged against him. Yet, beneath the surface, he buried his anguish, refusing to let it show. There were no tears to shed, no screams to unleash, only a cold, calculated focus that sharpened with every passing day. Memories haunted him constantly, moments of loss, the taste of defeat, and the near brush with death that had marked his darkest hours. Those memories were not chains to hold him back but weapons to wield. They forged his resolve into something unbreakable, a steel forged in fire. John replayed the scenes in his mind, the car crash that nearly took his life, the cold hospital nights where hope seemed fleeting, the betrayals that cut close to home. Each recollection was a reminder of what was at stake and why surrender was not an option. Trust became a fragile concept, shattered by Sophia's duplicity and the treachery of those who once stood beside him. The very people who had sworn loyalty turned their backs, swayed by ambition or fear. Family, once a source of strength and sanctuary, now felt like a battlefield littered with mines of deceit and manipulation. John grappled with these fractured bonds, the loneliness that came with knowing the people closest to him had sided against him. Yet, even as the weight of isolation pressed down, it steeled his determination. If family could not be trusted, he would build his legacy on something stronger, his own vision and unyielding will. Self-worth, too, became a battleground. Public humiliation threatened to erode the confidence that had propelled him to greatness. But John refused to let the world define his value. Instead, he found strength in the quiet moments of reflection, in the knowledge that true worth was not measured by headlines or stock prices but by integrity and perseverance. Every setback became fuel, every moment of despair a spark igniting the fire of revenge tempered by purpose. In the solitude of his secret sanctuary, John allowed himself no indulgence in grief. Pain was acknowledged but harnessed, transformed into a disciplined strategy. His nights were spent immersed in code and data, plotting the steps of a comeback that would be as silent as it was unstoppable. The memories of betrayal became a map, guiding his moves with precision. He trained his mind to anticipate every challenge, to foresee every countermove Sophia might make. The emotional toll was immense, but John was resolute. He understood that healing would not come from reconciliation or forgiveness but from reclaiming what was rightfully his. His silence was a fortress, protecting his plans and shielding his vulnerabilities. He cultivated patience, knowing that time was an ally in his quest for redemption. Every encounter, every whispered conversation with Deborah and Ryan, was a reminder that he was not alone in this fight. Their unwavering loyalty became a balm to his wounded spirit, a reminder that trust, though broken in some places, could be rebuilt stronger elsewhere. Together, they forged a bond of purpose and resolve, a united front against the tide of betrayal. John's inner world was a crucible where pain and resolve merged into something formidable. The emotional struggles that might have crushed a lesser man became the foundation of his strength. He learned to wield grief like a blade, cutting through doubt and fear. His determination to rise was not born of vengeance alone but of a profound need to restore balance, to prove that even in the darkest moments, hope and strength endure. The silence he maintained was deceptive. Beneath it lay a storm of ideas and plans, each more intricate and daring than the last. His resolve was unwavering, his spirit unbroken. The battle for his legacy was just beginning, and John was prepared to face it not with fury but with the cold patience of a strategist who knew that the greatest victories were won not in haste but in time. John stood before the sleek glass wall of his hidden laboratory, watching the city lights flicker beneath the night sky. The sterile hum of servers surrounded him, a subtle symphony to the secret revolution quietly taking shape. Months of relentless work, hidden from prying eyes and corporate espionage, had culminated in this moment, the unveiling of his true breakthrough. Unlike the superficial AI chatbot Sophia paraded as her own achievement, John's creation was far beyond the realm of mere algorithms. It was a quantum leap, a technological marvel capable of reshaping reality itself. This advanced quantum processing architecture was the fruit of years of obsession, a project that had consumed him before the betrayal and even more so after. While Sophia basked in stolen glory, John had been meticulously crafting something revolutionary, a system that manipulated quantum states to solve complex problems with unprecedented speed and precision. It was no ordinary invention but a paradigm shift with the power to disrupt entire industries, from medicine to climate science to space exploration. Yet, John knew that technology alone wouldn't be enough to reclaim what was lost. His sister's public victory was a well-disguised Trojan horse. Behind the scenes, Sophia's control was fragile, propped up by borrowed capital and illegitimate claims. To dismantle her empire, John had waged a covert campaign of acquisitions and legal maneuvering. Through a network of shell companies and encrypted transactions, he quietly regained ownership of every piece of intellectual property that Sophia had illicitly exploited. Each patent, each trademark was meticulously reclaimed, stripping her company of its foundation one asset at a time. Ryan, ever the strategist, coordinated these efforts with ruthless efficiency. Legal battles were waged not in the public eye but in the silent corridors of courts and patent offices around the world. Each victory chipped away at Sophia's defenses, tightening the noose that would soon snap shut. Deborah worked tirelessly to integrate John's quantum technology into a market-ready product, ensuring their new empire would not only reclaim lost ground but leap ahead in innovation and influence. As John activated the central quantum processor, a soft glow pulsed from within the containment field, a sphere of shimmering emerald light that seemed to vibrate with energy beyond comprehension. This was the heart of his renaissance, the engine that would power his strategic strike. While the world marveled at Sophia's AI demonstrations, John's creation operated silently, unseen but unstoppable. His confidence was not born of arrogance but of careful calculation. The ticking clock of legal and financial ruin had been set in motion, counting down to the moment when Sophia's facade would crumble under undeniable proof. He envisioned the day when investors, journalists, and regulators would awaken to the truth. The startup they had celebrated was built on stolen and unstable foundations, vulnerable to collapse. The plan was intricate and multifaceted. Simultaneously, John prepared a media blitz designed to expose Sophia's misdeeds and highlight the superiority of his quantum breakthrough. Carefully curated messages would leak to influential tech journalists and venture capitalists, sowing seeds of doubt and scrutiny. Behind the scenes, negotiations secured backing from powerful allies who understood the magnitude of his technology and the inevitability of his comeback. Sophia's confidence, once so unshakable, had begun to falter in private moments. Unaware of the forces assembling against her, she continued to project strength, rehearsing speeches and courting investors. Yet subtle tremors betrayed her composure, the slight hesitation in her voice, the fleeting glance of uncertainty. John knew these signs well, they marked the slow unraveling of her carefully constructed narrative. The duality of their battle was stark. Sophia fought for perception, wielding image and rhetoric as weapons. John wielded truth and innovation, building an empire rooted in legitimacy and vision. His rebirth was not just a personal resurgence but a calculated coup designed to redefine the rules of engagement. As John looked over the encrypted data streams and patent transfers, a grim smile touched his lips. Every move was deliberate, every action a step closer to the inevitable. His sister's victory was nothing more than a house of cards built on borrowed time and stolen ideas. When the moment came to reveal the full scope of his comeback, it would not only shatter Sophia's ambitions but send a shockwave through the entire industry. John's patience and preparation had transformed betrayal into opportunity. The second twist of his story was not a sudden reversal but a slow-burning revelation, a masterstroke that would leave his sister's empire in ruins and his own standing taller than ever. Behind the calm exterior lay the mind of a man reborn, ready to strike with precision and reclaim his legacy in full. John entered the imposing boardroom with measured steps, the weight of countless battles felt in every inch of the space. The polished wood gleamed under the harsh lights, a stark contrast to the tension that crackled in the air. Around the massive table sat the family's most influential investors, legal counsel, and media representatives, faces etched with anticipation and unease. At the head of the table, Sophia maintained her usual facade of confidence, her sharp gaze meeting John's with a flicker of apprehension she tried hard to conceal. The room fell silent as John took his place, the gravity of the moment pressing down on every attendee. With deliberate calm, he began to lay out his case, starting with the painstakingly gathered evidence that left no room for denial. Sophisticated patent filings, encrypted transaction records, and detailed technical comparisons formed the backbone of his presentation. He methodically revealed how Sophia had exploited stolen intellectual property, violated patent laws, and built her entire corporate narrative on a foundation of deceit. Each slide he advanced was a blow to her credibility, unraveling the carefully crafted web of lies she had spun over the past years. Investors shifted uncomfortably, their expressions darkening as the undeniable facts sunk in. The media representatives hungrily scribbled notes, sensing a story of corporate scandal and familial betrayal that would captivate audiences worldwide. The air grew thick with whispers, the murmurs of doubt spreading like wildfire. Sophia's composure faltered. Her once steely gaze flickered toward the exit as the room's atmosphere turned hostile. She attempted to interject, to cast doubt on John's claims, but the legal team flanking him anticipated every move. Ryan's poised rebuttals and expertly timed disclosures left no opening for Sophia's defense. The evidence was irrefutable, the narrative overwhelmingly against her. Suddenly, a hush fell over the room as the company's stock ticker flashed across the screen, plummeting in real time. Market analysts on call confirmed an unprecedented sell-off, triggered by the revelation of the patent infringements and legal actions John had initiated. Phones buzzed, investors exchanged frantic whispers, and live feeds captured the unfolding drama for a global audience. The climax of the showdown was the announcement of a monumental $4 billion buyout. Negotiated behind closed doors with key stakeholders, the deal represented a decisive blow to Sophia's reign. The buyout not only stripped her of control but signaled the irrevocable transfer of power back to John and his trusted allies. Gasps echoed through the room, the magnitude of the transaction reverberated beyond corporate walls, shaking the very foundations of the family legacy. Sophia sat frozen, her empire collapsing spectacularly around her. The glare of cameras captured her silent defeat, the cracks in her polished image laid bare for the world to see. As the boardroom erupted into discussions and strategizing, John remained seated, his posture calm and composed, a quiet victor amidst the chaos. The family legacy, once a symbol of unity and strength, fractured irreparably in that moment. Loyalties shattered, alliances shifted, and the balance of power tipped irrevocably. The grandeur of the past gave way to a new era defined by truth and justice, led by a man reborn through fire and betrayal. John's victory was not marked by loud triumphs but by the solemn restoration of what was rightfully his. The echoes of the boardroom battle would ripple through the industry for years, a testament to the power of perseverance and strategic mastery. As cameras faded and the room emptied, John looked out at the city skyline, the weight of the moment settling within him. He understood that this was more than a corporate coup, it was a reckoning, a rewriting of history shaped by silent strength and unwavering resolve. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the future belonged to those who dared to rise above betrayal and reclaim their destiny. John stood on the balcony of his new headquarters, the city sprawling beneath him like a glittering circuit board of possibility. The air was crisp with promise, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from distant gardens, a sharp contrast to the cold steel and glass that framed his vision. His empire, Phoenix Quantum, was no longer just a company, it was a beacon of innovation, revolutionizing industries and reshaping the future with every breakthrough in quantum technology. The advancements born from his relentless pursuit had far-reaching impacts. Medical research once stalled by complexity now soared, as his quantum processors enabled precise targeting of diseases, eliminating errors and side effects. Environmental modeling reached unprecedented accuracy, offering solutions to climate crises previously deemed impossible. Space exploration, powered by his technology, pushed humanity beyond old frontiers, ushering in a new era of discovery. Each achievement was a testament to the years of sacrifice and strategy that had led him here. Yet, amidst this flourishing empire, John's heart held no room for mercy. The cold justice he dispensed was not born of cruelty but of principle. Sophia's attempts at reconciliation, her hollow remorse, and the faint echoes of regret were insufficient to erase the wounds she inflicted. Her reputation lay in ruins, dismantled by public exposure and legal verdicts. The legacy she had sought to claim was irrevocably shattered, a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms and whispered in the corridors of power. John's decision to reject forgiveness was not an act of spite but a recognition of truth. Some betrayals cut so deeply that the only fitting response is accountability. The family bonds that once promised sanctuary had been weaponized, and while he mourned what was lost, he refused to allow past wounds to dictate his future. Instead, he embraced a profound peace born from clarity and justice. His rebirth was not merely survival, it was a triumphant reclamation. Rising from the ashes of deception, John had transformed loss into power, humiliation into innovation, and betrayal into legacy. The man who once faced public disgrace now stood as a pioneer, his vision lighting the way for generations to come. Each step forward was a silent affirmation that true strength emerges not from vengeance but from resilience and purpose. In quiet moments, John reflected on the journey, the pain endured, the sacrifices made, and the unwavering determination that fueled his ascent. The ghosts of the past lingered, but they no longer haunted him. Instead, they served as reminders of the cost of greatness and the price of betrayal. His empire was a monument to those lessons, a living proof that even in the darkest trials, hope and strength endure. As twilight painted the horizon in shades of amber and violet, John closed his eyes and breathed deeply. The weight of responsibility settled comfortably on his shoulders. He was no longer the man broken by family strife, he was a leader tempered by fire, a visionary whose legacy transcended personal vendettas. The future awaited, vast and unwritten, but John faced it with a steady heart and a clear mind. His empire would continue to grow, healing the world and pushing the boundaries of human achievement. And in that growth, he found a peace that was both hard-earned and deeply deserved. From the depths of despair and betrayal, I rose not with shouts or cries but with a silence more powerful than any storm. The ashes of my past, scattered by deceit and loss, became the fertile soil from which my resolve sprouted and flourished. In those quiet moments of reflection, when the world believed me defeated, I was already rebuilding, piece by piece, idea by idea, crafting a future shaped not by anger but by unyielding will. True power, I learned, is not wielded in furious outbursts or bitter revenge, it is forged in patience, resilience, and the relentless determination to reclaim one's rightful place. It is the steady hand that guides the ship through tempestuous seas, the calm mind that sees beyond immediate storms to the horizon beyond. It is the courage to rewrite the script that fate seemed to have penned, to bend destiny to your own design rather than bowing to its cruel hand. In reclaiming what was mine, I did not seek to destroy but to restore. Not to break, but to build anew. The legacy I forged was not just a monument to past pain but a beacon for what is possible when one refuses to surrender. Every setback became a lesson, every scar a testament to strength. The road was long, winding, and fraught with shadows, yet with every step, I grew stronger, more certain that my destiny was mine to command. So I stand now, not as a victim of betrayal but as a master of my own fate. The quiet victories, the ones unseen by the world, have shaped me more than any public acclaim ever could. And in this silence, I found my true voice, my true power. For anyone who has tasted betrayal and felt the sting of loss, remember this: the fiercest fire burns not in rage but in the steadfast heart that refuses to be broken. Rise quietly. Rise steadily. Rewrite your story with purpose and resolve. Claim what is rightfully yours, not with fury, but with the unwavering will of a soul reborn.